This is Ångström Celeritas, the newest lubricant released by thecubicle.com. It's a two-part lubricant, meaning that it can't be stored as a single unit, but rather comes in two bottles. One bottle for reagent A, and one bottle for reagent B. According to the instruction sheet that came in the lube package, reagent A contains a silicone suspension of carbon-based monomers that are cross-linked when mixed with reagent B. To test out this lube's effectiveness, I have 4 cubes here that I'll be trying it out on. The GAN 356X, the YJ YuHu EDM, the Weilong WRM, and the Valk 5M in order to see how it does with big cubes. The instructions indicated that you should apply this lube to a clean and dry cube, so I wiped the lube off of the insides of these 4 cubes. So let's start out with our first cube, the GAN 356X. To apply this lube, you want to start out with reagent A. Put 1 to 2 drops of reagent A into one of your cubes. For now, I'll just do 1 drop. Then do plenty of turns to make sure that reagent A gets spread evenly around the inside of the cube. This should take about 2 solves according to the instructions. Now that reagent A is thoroughly mixed around the inside of the cube, open your cube back up and apply 2 to 3 drops of reagent B. I'll do 2 drops, and it says to start turning very quickly after you add the lube to make sure that it gets spread around evenly. 1 and 2. Okay. For the GAN X, it seems like the difference that I'm noticing is very subtle. There's definitely a gliding feeling that's happening as described, but what I notice the most is that the natural snappiness of this cube has just been dulled out a little bit. I would probably already describe the GAN X out of the box as smooth and glidey, so I wasn't really sure how much this lube could affect it in the first place. But what I'm more interested in seeing is how this lube would affect a cube like the YJ YuHu EDM. So I'll move on to that one and see if I notice a different change when I add the lube. So this time I'm going to add 2 drops of reagent A and 3 drops of reagent B. First I put in the reagent A and then turn to get that all spread around the cube. Okay, so it seems like the reagent A is mixed around thoroughly, so now I'm going to add the 3 drops of reagent B and start turning quickly. There's 3. Oh, wow. Okay. Now I definitely notice a difference. Okay, this is really like nothing I've ever felt before. I don't even know how to describe it. I guess it sort of feels like it made the cube softer feeling. Maybe it softened the plastic a little bit. It sort of has this plush coating between the layers. That's sort of what it feels like. And I definitely agree with the description of this lube as making a gliding feeling on the cube. I definitely think that that's accurate. But I feel like it does more than that on this one. I think it definitely makes the sound a bit lower. The pitch of the turning isn't quite as high anymore. It's sort of subdued it, I guess. It's a little bit softer for sure. less harsh sounding. And it really feels like it's smoothing over all the bumps that you feel in the turn and making it a more consistent feeling overall. So definitely happy with how it feels on the YJ YuHu EDM, but let's check it out on the Weilong WRM. So as you can hear, this cube is super dry right now. So let's add 2 drops of reagent A and then 3 drops of reagent B, like I did with the EDM, and see how that works on this cube. I'm going to try this time adding them in 2 different corners, see if that smooths it around even better. Okay, so I can feel that reagent A has worked around in the cube, so now I'm going to add 3 drops of reagent B. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's start turning quickly. So the difference isn't quite as pronounced on this cube as it was on the EDM, but it's definitely not as subtle as it was on the GAN X either. I can still feel the gliding, smooth feeling all around the cube, but I don't see that huge transformation that I saw in the EDM, although it could be because this is such a good cube already and I wasn't too impressed with the EDM out of the box. Something that I'm noticing more with this cube though is that it seems to be changing more than just the feeling of the cube. I'm getting a few small reverse corner cutting catches, and I'm not sure if that's just because it's changing the feeling and therefore it's changing the turning and so I'm having trouble controlling it, or if there's something with the cross-linking monomers that's making it harder to flow smoothly in solves. Of course, single turns and algorithms feel great, but it's just not quite as flexible, I guess, as it was before. But I didn't notice that with the EDM, so I'm not exactly sure what that is about. So as far as this cube goes overall, I love the way that the Celeritas makes it feel, but I'm gonna go back to the old lubricants that I had in there because it's a few days before Nationals, and I'm just not used to the way that it turns. But finally, let's move on to the Valk 5M. So I did notice on the instruction sheet that it recommended that you use less of reagent A and more of reagent B for bigger cubes. So for this cube, I'm just going to use 1 drop of reagent A, but I'm going to use 3 of reagent B and see how that turns out. So I'll mix this around. Okay, so I did 2 solves on this cube, which might have been overkill since it's a 5x5, but I figured I might as well do it and it can't hurt. So now I'm going to add in the 3 drops of reagent B. And these I'm going to add in different spots because there's so much more space to cover on the cube. Alright, so I added them in, so now I'll start mixing it around. Okay, I have to admit this cube really surprised me because usually when these new lubes come out, they aren't nearly as effective on big cubes as they are on 3x3s. But this lube worked perfectly with the Valk 5M. It didn't really slow it down too much, but it did make it just a little bit more controllable, which is nice. And it's also so super smooth now that I added the lube. It feels exactly how I would want it to. I don't notice any of the slight problems that I noticed when I put it on the WRM, like it affecting the corner cutting. It actually seems to make it turn even better than it did before, which I think might be because of the added controllability. It might also be because of the combination of reagent A and B that I used in this cube. So if you have the Valk 5M and you end up getting this lube, I would definitely recommend that combination on this cube. It worked really, really nicely. The last thing that I should mention from the instruction pamphlet is that they gave instructions on what to do if your cube turns out too slow or too fast. If it's too fast, you just add some heavy silicone lube, and if it's too slow, they recommend cleaning out the cube and using less reagent A when you reapply Celeritas. And I did notice that using less of A worked very well on this cube, so I think there might be something to that. Overall, these two cubes definitely showed the most improvement when I added it. I didn't notice much of a change on the GAN X, and I did notice a bit of a change on the WRM, but it wasn't quite as good as when I added it to the EDM and the Valk 5M. This lube is going to be released to the public at Nationals 2019 this year in Baltimore, so if you're there, definitely pick some of this stuff up. It's like nothing I have ever felt before, and it's really quite an experience to try it out. Plus, it seems like it's just a great lube from the cubes that I've tried it out on. So that's it for this video. Thanks to the Cubicle for sending me this lube to test. And once again, if you'd like to buy it, check it out at Nationals 2019. If you like this video, subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you're notified of all my future uploads. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!